I said before that this is a mortal body, but an immortal being dwells in it. But just to make the play interesting, it disguises itself as the ego and has to wake itself up from this sleep. And this is a challenge, I think, of when consciousness plays as humanity. He has to realize both, that you are human for the time being and you are divine eternally. Human for now, divine eternally.
Well, think about the idea that your mind might be an energy field. Think about the idea that if your mind is energetic in nature, if it's an energy field, then when the field starts vibrating faster, the vibration increase means that your consciousness moves faster. Things are moving faster in the field, meaning you can think faster, meaning insight comes to you more rapidly, meaning that your consciousness is changing. I would like you to think about the idea that you're moving through a hallway of intelligent infinity, that you are walking through the corridors of the divine, that every move that you make, every step that you take in this life is being recorded for infinity. The point of power is in the present. It's not going to be in guilt over the past. It's not going to be in fear over the future.
These things should really return your happiness to you. Suffering is not our destiny. It is only sometimes a means, an opportunity to go beyond suffering, to recognize that which cannot suffer, has never suffered. And the moment comes when it's very clear for you, all these things I imagined.
Ancient sites do harness energy. We're going to see a variety of sites that do this. The first one we're going to talk about is menhirs, or standing stones. And I want you to just primarily look at them. There's not a whole lot to say except how beautiful they are. A person is only about this tall, so this gives you a sense of how huge some of these are. These stones are able to harness energy coming up out of the earth and ripple it out into the surrounding countryside in expanding circles. And that energy, as we're going to see, actually has positive benefits for people's health, has positive benefits for vitality. There's many, many things that these stones will do for you. And they harness an energy of consciousness, an energy that will actually help us to become more evolved, more intelligent, and more psychic. And it's just a phenomenal feat that they would actually be able to take these giant stones and get them to stand up like this in the first place, with the equipment that was supposedly available to them at the time. This is quite a stunning accomplishment. Dolmens are the next thing we're going to look at, and dolmens are actual cellars where you have stones built into a room. The purpose of these, and they are all over the place, they're in France, they're in Scotland, they're in Ireland, they're in England, is that you go inside and you meditate. And what it does is it captures energy from the earth and it concentrates it and focalizes it inside under this area here. And so you're sitting in there meditating and you get this big energy blast. And so look at that. Now how in the world, I mean the weight of this stone is so tremendous and it has stayed there for all these thousands of years. It never fell over, regardless of earthquakes or whatever happened. It's still there. And you can see another dolmen right over here. I mean, that's a side view of it, and here it is from the front. It's astonishing that they don't fall over, but yet they don't. Some of them are a lot more organized, where they actually have breathing holes, and then it's all kind of built in on itself. So this is a big cosmic energy chamber. You really get a big blast going in underneath one of these and meditating. The next one we're going to talk about is barrows. Barrows are mounds, and they exist in America as well as in England. The ones that I'm showing you now are all going to be in England. It doesn't look like much except just a big round dome. But the interesting part is, and you can see how pyramidal that one is, the interesting thing is that many of them have entrances, and you can actually go through the entrance and go inside, and there's a big round room inside. And you meditate inside the room, and once again, you get this big spiritual energy blast when you go in there. Now, they're not only single mounds, sometimes they become elongated mounds, and this is all related to tailoring the energy coming out of the earth. Henges are the ones that everybody is so familiar with and we love so dearly because of Stonehenge, but that's not the only one. This is a part of Avebury here, which is another henge. The sheep really like the energy the stones give off. Sometimes you get large stones that are just set up right but are not specifically tall and narrow like that. This is an example of a barrow and a henge. You have a henge in the front, and this is a barrow in the back with an entrance up here. Another example of a henge, another example. So you can see these don't just occur a couple times. They keep happening over and over again, and these are only the ones that are still standing. There's many others that have been buried. Now this is fascinating because this is the full outline of Avebury. Every single little dot in this entire serpent shape that you see here used to be a standing stone, and every single one of them still exists. They've dug them up from the ground. So this was an enormous serpent with a head and then the stomach that has eaten something. And this is Silbury Hill. So what you actually have here, if you notice the triangular relationship between these areas, is all these stones and the mound are all built to focus energy here and here primarily. It sends the energy into this area where a large gathering of people happen, and it acts as a consciousness-enhancing technology, which we now have lost access to in the West. All the stuff I was showing you, cathedrals, all around the world, Easter Island, the mound builders in America, you name it, they found 4,000 of these kinds of sites, and every single one of them was on this grid. So the whole world knew how to use this technology back then, and it's been lost. This is the most advanced version of the grid that we now have, called Becker-Hagen's, and this is where the black spots are the original 12 nodes of Ivan Sanderson's grid, and then you see how it's evolved. You now have two icosahedras together, one that is out of phase with the other, and that's what creates these 120 different triangles that form the grid. It's called the Unified Vector Geometry 120 Polyhedron, or UVG 120. That's the long name for it, but the simple name is Becker-Hagen's grid, which is a lot easier to say. Yeah?
Are there any here in the United States?
Oh yeah, if you look at the United States on the Becker-Hagen's grid, what's the first big node that you see? It's right around Los Angeles in Baja California there. So this is why there's so many people in Los Angeles, why it's such a huge population center, because we like to be near these nodes. They feel good, and they create a lot of energy. I'm very energized by living in LA. We're in this area right now. We're on this node right now where this talk is happening. The other big one, of course, is right off Florida. And look at this. The lines, again, are very important, and that line shoots straight up the east coast of the United States. So everybody on the East Coast, the whole East Coast megalopolis, is all feeding off of that line. And then when people get old and they get sick, what do? They want to move to Florida. Why do they want to move to Florida? Because they feel healthier. Why do they get healthier? Because they're on the node. And the node feeds your DNA. There's Hawaii, okay? And what we know is that Hawaii is right on one of the nodes, and the cancer rates in Hawaii are dramatically lower than anywhere else in the world. Dramatically lower. We also find out that in Washington, D.C., the cancer rates are much lower. So the people that decided where to put the capital of the United States made darn sure that they used this grid